right? And the insects develop resistances to this.
Okay, before we go on, let's see, thuringiensis is the last word. What is the first word of that, BT?
BT.
No, but I mean, what is the first word that, it's thuringiensis is the last word. I can't remember. Bacilli thuringiensis, I think, is the name of that. What is BT? We kind of hear BT all the time, but what is BT?
Well, in this case, it's a genetically modified biopesticide, but at its core, it is a biopesticide. It's essentially used in a number of farming practices to ward off insects. It's just like herbicide pesticide. It's an herbicide pesticide, but in this case, it's a biopesticide.
But we're told it's okay for organic, though. I've seen stores sell it for organic usage.
Right. Well, this is genetically modified BT. So what happens is the insects get resistant to this, and then Monsanto says, instead of, hey, let's stop using this, this garbage, they say, let's genetically modify it further, so that the insects actually mutate further, and they become resistant more and more, so farmers have to use significantly more pesticides, which in turn you're eating. And Monsanto's own scientists are now saying that their further genetic modification of BT is not even going to work. And here's one study that says the answer is alternative, organic, sustainable methods of farming provide a realistic alternative independent of reliance on agrobiotech corporations. And then we have the same thing being said from a team of 900 scientists. Because what happened was Bill Gates went out on air and said, oh, by the way, he owns 500,000 shares of Monsanto.
Oh, my. Half million shares of Monsanto.
500,000 shares of Monsanto. He goes on the air and he says, GMOs are the best way to fight world hunger and just absolutely take it out. Well, the truth of the matter is that Bill Gates, Monsanto shareholder, is completely wrong, according to a group of 900 scientists, funded actually by the World Bank, United Nations. The organization was created to check out basically what was going on with world hunger. They found that genetically modified crops offered virtually no benefit, do not quote, produce increased yields over the long run, despite their excessive cost and extreme danger to health and environment. There's virtually no scientific evidence proving to any degree that GMO crops are a viable option to fight starvation or even increase crop yields. And that's why we have thousands of suicides from farmers, particularly in India, because they were approached by Monsanto representatives and said, hey, here's some great GMO seeds. They're going to yield higher crop count and everything like that. And they were super inflated, too, to these third world farmers. They jacked up the price, sold it to them. They didn't yield, and the farmers would kill themselves because they lost their family business and they went in debt and their families began to starve. This is, it's not a joke. That's what Monsanto does. They also run flavoring. That's been found out as well in an investigation. An Argentinian organization found out that Monsanto was making workers perform in, quote, slave-like conditions. They were working the cornfields for 14 hours per day and were forced to buy their GMO food at highly inflated prices at the company store. I think that's cruel and unusual enough, forcing people to eat only GMOs from the company store.
Oh,
they prevented them from leaving the farm, and if they did so, they withheld their salaries. And it was a completely secret operation that's been going for who knows how many years.
Oh, man, this is horrible. This is absolutely horrible. This is like your worst nightmare you can't get out of. It is like overwhelming, coming over you. I mean, imagine how the animals feel. The animals that refuse to eat GMO foods, refuse. And they're starving because they refuse to eat GMO foods. It's that bad. But then in the animal population, let's talk about what is the hardest hit in the animal population.
Well, right now we have a new report saying that the monarch butterflies, which are dwindling right now, are being killed off due to Monsanto's Roundup. Something known as milkweed is what they use for habitat and food. It's kind of a 2-in-1 combo. And the milkweed is being destroyed due to Roundup usage. In one study, it quotes this milkweed has disappeared from at least 100 million acres of these row crops as a result of Roundup. Quote, your milkweed is virtually gone. This Roundup Ready crops are the main factor that has happened. You look at parts of the Midwest where there is tremendous use of these crops, and you see monarch populations dropping. It's hard to deny the conclusion. With 94% of soybeans and 72% of corn grown in the United States, Roundup Ready, there's really no doubt that this is causing it. There's been a 90% decline from 1999 to 2009. Only 8% of corn and soybean fields surveyed in 2009 contained milkweed. So it's pretty obvious they're killing the butterflies. They're creating mutated insects. And now also other genetic modification companies are releasing genetically modified mosquitoes into Florida, which have been created with a, quote, terminator gene that's to kill them before they can give birth or mate so that they can destroy the mosquito population. And, of course, the effects of that are not known either.
Wow. So the question is, what do we do? What can we do? I mean, other than not buying anything that has processed food in it, which means 99% of the food on the inside aisles, doesn't it? Isn't that kind of what they're saying now, or is it less than that? Yeah,
I mean, with 96% of soybeans, and that's virtually in a large percentage of products, it's the vast majority of products right now in traditional supermarkets.
So that means you can't buy any processed bread. That's why people need to make their own Ezekiel bread. I mean, I'm serious. Bread is probably one of the worst offenders, don't you think?
Bread is up there, and you also have to remember that it's not just GMOs that are inhabiting processed foods either. It's high fructose corn syrup and mercury, which is in high fructose corn syrup, hydrogenated oils and everything like that too. So it's your best bet to go with 100% high quality organic whenever possible, or make your own garden. But what it really comes down to is political action against Monsanto. There's a number of labeling initiatives now in 18 states. So there's an upside to this. There's 18 states right now pushing labeling initiatives, including California and Vermont. So you need to get out and ensure that the labeling initiatives pass. Now, the other issue, though, is that there were a group of farmers and organizations, over 300,000, I believe, that sued Monsanto, and the judge threw their case out. So it's extremely apparent that the United States government has a vested interest, along with key figures like Bill Gates, in protecting Monsanto.
But why? But why? Why do they protect them? Why do they want poisoned food? I mean, the president admits, he and his wife have admitted, by the way, we had someone who had worked for the food services for the president who said they get only organic food. They do not eat anything else but organic. Nowhere else in the White House is there totally organic food, but for the first family there is. Now, I don't know if that's true or not, but, unless they go out and eat, hamburgers or whatever they do. But the question, though, is, what is the motivation for this? Is it because it's so much cheaper? Is it because they can poison the environment? They can eliminate population? What is the reason?
Well, I think it's just, all we have to do is look at the Monsanto employees